Hi, this is Meghna. I am from CSCC. My roll number is 21BQ 1A05I3. Today we will discuss about SQL constraints. Constraints can be specified when the table is created with the create table statement or after the table is created with the alter table statement. Here the syntax for create table statement constraints: create table, table name, column 1 data type constraint, column 2 data type constraint, and so on. SQL constraints. SQL constraints are used to specify rules for the data in a table. Constraints are used to limit the type of data that can go into a table. This ensures the accuracy and reliability of the data in the table. If there is any violation between the constraint and the data action, the action is aborted. Constraints can be column level or table level. Column level constraints apply to uh, column, and a table level constraints apply to the whole table. The following constraints are commonly used in SQL: not null, unique, primary key, foreign key, check, default, and create index. Here see what is not null. Not null ensures that your column can't have a null value. Unique ensures that all values in a column are different. Primary key, a combination of a not null and unique, uniquely identifies each row in a table. Foreign key prevents actions that would destroy links between tables. Check ensures that the values in a column satisfies a specific condition. Default sets a default value for a column if no value is specified. Create index used to create and retrieve data from the database very quickly. First, we see SQL not null constraint. By default, a column can hold null values. The not null constraint enforces a column to not accept null values. This enforces a field to always contain a value, which means that you cannot insert a new record or update a record without adding a value to this field. Example: first we create a table name persons with ID int not null. Here ID is not null, last name and first name also not null, and age. The following SQL ensures that the ID, last name and first name columns will not accept null values when the persons table is created. SQL unique constraint. The unique constraint ensures that all values in a column are different. Both the unique and primary key constraints provide a guarantee for uniqueness for a column or set of columns. A primary key constraint automatically has a unique constraint. However, you can have many unique constraints per table but only one primary key constraint per table. Example: the following SQL creates a unique constraint on the ID column when the persons table is created. SQL primary key constraint. The primary key constraint uniquely identifies each record in a table. Primary keys must contain unique values and can't contain null values. A table can have only one primary key, and in the table this primary key can consist of single or multiple columns. Example: the following SQL creates a primary key on the ID column when the persons table is created. SQL foreign key constraint. The foreign key constraint is used to prevent actions that would destroy links between tables. A foreign key is a field in one table that refers to the primary key in another table. The table with the foreign key is called the child table, and the table with the primary key is called the reference or parent table. Here consider two tables: persons table having columns person ID, last name, first name and age. We insert 3 rows. And next orders table. Here the columns are order ID, order number and person ID. Notice that the person ID column in the orders table points to the person ID column in the persons table. The person ID column in the persons table is the primary key in the persons table. The person ID column in the orders table is a foreign key in the orders table. The foreign key constraint prevents invalid data from being inserted into the foreign key column because it has to be one of the values contained in the parent table. Example: the following SQL creates a foreign key on the person ID column when the orders table is created. Here the syntax is foreign key of person ID references to persons of person ID. It means it refers the person ID which is on the persons table. SQL check constraint. The check constraint is used to limit the value range that can be placed in a column. If you define a check constraint on a column, it will allow only certain values for this column. If you define a check constraint on a table, it can limit the values in certain columns based on the values in other columns in the row. Here example. The following SQL creates a check constraint on the age column when the persons table is created. The check constraint ensures that the age of a person must be 18 or older. SQL default constraint. The default constraint is used to set a default value for a column. The default value will be added to all new records if no other value is specified. Example: here we created a table named persons. The columns are ID, last name, first, age, city. The following SQL sets a default value for a city column when the persons table is created. The default value is sadness. SQL create index statement. The create index statement is used to create indexes in tables. Indexes are used to retrieve data from the database more quickly than otherwise. The users can't see the indexes, they are just used to speed up searches or queries. Create index syntax creates an index on a table with duplicate values. Here the syntax: create index, index name on table name of column 1, column 2 and so on. Create unique index syntax, that means it doesn't allow duplicate values. Create unique index, index name on table name of column 1, column 2 and so on, column n. Example: the SQL statement below creates an index named IDX last name on the last name column in the persons table. Thank you.